Once he was the man in the sharp suits, walking into every room like he owned it. Now, he is standing on courthouse steps, ranting on Instagram, and losing battles he can no longer control. What happened to Martell Holt, and why has life itself turned against him? This was never supposed to be about revenge. It was supposed to be about the children. But Martell Holt's fight tells a darker story, one about pride, power, and the cost of refusing to let go. The truth will shock you. Fans used to admire him. Now, they ask one question: is Martell Holt fighting for his kids, or just fighting to protect his ego? The answer is unfolding in public, and it is uglier than anyone expected. He once had the perfect family, the image, the respect. Today, he has court filings, Instagram rants, and silence from the very people who used to defend him. Martell Holt's downfall is not just reality TV drama, it is real life, playing out in front of millions. When the court dismisses Martell's petty custody demands, Melody shuts him down completely. It feels like retaliation, but not from her, rather from life itself. There was a time when Martell Holt walked into a room like he owned it. He wore sharp suits, carried himself with pride, and had the picture-perfect family beside him. Today, that image has shattered into countless messy headlines. He is no longer the polished man that fans once admired. Instead, people now see him standing outside courthouses, dodging accountability, ranting on Instagram, and scrambling to spin a story that slips further away with every word he says. The publicity has reached a point where nothing feels private anymore. This is not just another dramatic storyline for reality television. This is not a script that can be edited, rewritten, or cut to fit the demands of an episode. This is real life, unfolding openly, without filters, in front of an audience that stretches far beyond the show's fan base. At the center of it all is a man determined to paint himself as the victim, even though his actions tell an entirely different story. What we are watching is not entertainment. It is a battle between perception and truth, between ego and accountability. Martell Holt once carried himself like someone untouchable. He used to be the figure who entered a room as if he owned it, dressed in perfectly tailored suits, his charm and charisma almost impossible to ignore. There was a time when his confidence felt unshakable, when the image of him with a polished family at his side looked like something out of a glossy magazine cover. But that picture has crumbled. What remains today is a man grasping at fragments of control, standing on courthouse steps, arguing in live streams, and desperately trying to spin a narrative that no longer belongs to him. Court hearings have now become his spotlight. Psychological evaluations are framed as personal attacks rather than tools to determine the truth. Every accusation turns into a soundbite. Every online feud becomes part of a script that he seems determined to perform in front of anyone willing to watch. But the truth is that the stage he is standing on is not one built for fame. It is one built from mistakes, consequences, and stubborn pride. The painful reality is that this battle is not really about the children. It should have been. In cases of custody, the well-being of the kids is supposed to be the highest priority. But in this saga, that priority has been lost. The fight has turned into something else entirely, something rooted in power, image, and control. What Martell seems to want most is not to share the responsibility of raising his children, but to win against Melody. Melody, on the other hand, has already stepped into a new chapter of her life. She has chosen to move forward, refusing to let the chaos define her. Her focus is sharp on her career, on protecting her peace, and on raising her children with dignity and strength. She no longer reacts to every outburst. She no longer entertains the drama that Martell seems to thrive on. Instead, she continues to grow, quietly showing that true power comes from composure and consistency. Martell, however, cannot seem to let go of the past. He clings to battles that only drag him deeper into conflict. Every motion he files, every rant he posts, every late-night live video feels like an attempt to rewrite a story that is already written. He does not appear to realize that these actions do not strengthen his case, they weaken it. By trying to prove that he is the victim, he only confirms the opposite, that he is a man unwilling to take accountability, unwilling to change, and unable to move forward. It is telling that even those who once stood firmly in his corner have gone quiet. Friends who once defended him publicly now step back. Supporters who once believed in his side of the story have begun to question his motives. Silence has become louder than defense. Even Destiny Payton, who was once inseparable from Martell, now keeps her distance. Her absence from his side says more than words ever could. And Arian Curry, The mother of his youngest son has openly criticized him, calling out his arrogance and inconsistency. The unraveling is not happening in secret, it is happening where everyone can see it. Fans of the show are no longer debating whether Martell has been treated unfairly. Instead, they are asking why he continues to sabotage himself. Why does he resist psychological testing if he has nothing to hide? Why does he criticize the mother of his children online while insisting that he wants peace? Why does he turn fatherhood into a performance rather than living it quietly and authentically? The answer seems to come down to ego. Martell does not appear to be fighting for justice, for fatherhood, or even for love. He is fighting for an image of himself that no longer exists. He still acts as though he is the man who once had it all: the respect, the admiration, the family, and the control. But that version of him is gone, and by refusing to accept it, he is destroying what little ground he has left to stand on. The contrast between him and Melody could not be sharper. While he spirals, she flourishes. Her trip with the children to Tennessee was not just a vacation, it was a statement. A reminder that life continues, that happiness can still exist in the middle of chaos, and that motherhood is about stability, not performance. She does not need to defend herself loudly. Her actions show who she is: a mother who shows up, who nurtures, and who prioritizes her children above everything else. This is why public perception continues to shift in her favor. People can see who is focused and who is distracted by grudges. They can tell who is protecting their peace and who is feeding the storm. And more importantly, they can see which parent is emotionally present, not just physically there. Martell may think that his loud rants prove a point, but to everyone watching, they only prove that he is more concerned with winning than with parenting. Even the courts are not blind to this. Social media might bring him temporary attention, but judges do not measure likes and comments. They measure stability, consistency, and actions. Every post, every outburst, every attempt at damage control using his children only undermines him further. Kids are not props. They are not evidence. And treating them as such only weakens his credibility. Martell now stands at a crossroads. On one path lies growth, accountability, and the chance to rebuild a genuine relationship with his children. On the other lies bitterness, denial, and a cycle of self-destruction. The choice is his to make, but the window for redemption is closing fast. People love comeback stories, and had he chosen humility, responsibility, and respect, he might have earned one. Instead, he turned every chance to heal into another stage for performance. What we see today is not a man fighting for his family, but a man fighting to protect his pride. And that pride, more than any judge, any court order, or any headline, is what threatens to cost him everything. His behavior has become louder than anything he could ever say. Every move, every outburst, every late-night rant tells a story about where his priorities truly are. He files motion after motion in court, not out of calm determination but out of spite, almost as if he believes the sheer number of filings will prove his dedication. To outsiders, though, it feels less like genuine fatherhood and more like retaliation disguised as legal responsibility. The same pattern shows up in his public life. When frustration builds, he takes to social media instead of handling matters privately. He throws public tantrums that draw attention for a moment but leave lasting damage to his credibility. Instead of showing steady, quiet devotion to his children, he performs fatherhood as if it were a role on stage. The spotlight seems to matter more to him than the children themselves. His late-night live streams reveal this perfectly. He goes on camera with emotion in his voice, insisting that he is the one who has been wronged. He tells his side again and again, painting himself as the victim, yet he never provides evidence to back up his claims. Each performance feels rehearsed, but hollow, and viewers notice that the substance is missing. It becomes a cycle: complaints without clarity, anger without accountability. Then, just before court appearances, he posts carefully chosen pictures of his young son, Knox, the child he shares with Arian Curry. The timing is always striking, as though he hopes that one heartwarming image might shift perception in his favor. But these gestures rarely come across as genuine. Instead, they look like strategies designed to score sympathy points. His captions and hashtags are written not like a father's natural reflections, but like crafted statements meant to prove something to the world. And that is the heart of the problem. His parenting moments feel staged, filtered through the lens of image management, rather than rooted in authentic love and responsibility. Children are not tools for winning arguments. They are not props to showcase at the right time, and they certainly are not evidence in a custody case. By treating them as symbols in his battle, he undermines the very role he is trying so desperately to prove he deserves. What could have been quiet, consistent fatherhood has instead turned into a spectacle. And the more he tries to control the story, the more obvious it becomes that his actions are about protecting his pride, not protecting his children. Melody's way of handling the situation shows a completely different picture. Instead of arguing online or making loud statements, she simply shows up for her children. She remains calm, steady, and present in every moment with them. This difference became even clearer when the court required both parents to take psychological evaluations. Melody had no issue with the request. She agreed right away, went through the process, and treated it as something natural for any parent who wants the best for their kids. Martell, however, reacted very differently. He resisted, questioned the order, and acted like it was some kind of personal insult. That hesitation left people wondering, why avoid something so straightforward if you truly have nothing to hide? After all, a test like this could easily confirm whether a parent is fit and stable. The only reason to fight against it would be fear of what the results might reveal. This custody battle has already stretched on for years, yet Martell's fight no longer looks like a father protecting his bond with his children. Instead, it appears more like a mission to punish Melody for moving on without him. Every move he makes, from legal filings to social media rants, feels less about love and more about control. He continues to criticize her success, calling her too busy, too ambitious, or too focused on her career. In his eyes, her accomplishments somehow disqualify her as a good mother. But time and again, those attacks fall flat. People have witnessed how Melody balances everything. She manages her businesses, pursues her dreams, and still shows up fully for her children. She has built a life where her kids are cared for, supported, and loved, while she also continues to grow as a woman. Instead of proving Martell's claims, her life demonstrates the opposite. Success does not weaken motherhood, it strengthens it. By thriving in her career and protecting her peace, she provides her children with a role model who teaches them resilience, responsibility, and strength. Each attempt Martell makes to undermine her only highlights the contrast between them. Melody rises by focusing on love and stability, while he drags himself down with bitterness and blame. She continues to show up for her children in ways that truly matter. Melody attends their school events, supports their activities, and protects their emotional well-being at every turn. Even with cameras following her and legal stress hanging over her head, she remains composed, showing that motherhood is not about words, but about presence. While she is steady, Martell's troubles spill into different areas of his life. His personal conflicts keep finding their way into the courtroom, making fatherhood look like another battleground in his endless cycle of disputes. What should be about the children instead becomes wrapped in his pride and anger. People are not blind to these patterns. Fans, followers, and even those once neutral are noticing the difference between the two parents. When Martell argues, it does not feel like the voice of a father seeking fairness. It feels like a man desperate to control a story that keeps slipping out of his hands. Each legal move he makes seems more about bruised ego than genuine love for his kids. And the more he pushes, the clearer it becomes that he is losing ground, not gaining it. The shift becomes even sharper with the reaction from Arian Curry, the mother of his youngest child, Knox. For a long time, she was seen as his ally, someone who stood beside him when he clashed with Melody. But even she has reached a breaking point. Where she once defended him, now she speaks out. Arian has started to call out his arrogance, his habit of twisting situations, and his inability to be consistent. Her words do not come lightly, they hit hard because they come from someone who knows him closely. This change adds another layer to the already complicated story. If even the person who once supported him now questions his behavior, what does that say about the foundation of his fight? It raises doubts that go beyond parenting and into his character as a man. The story is no longer Melody versus Martell. It is Melody's calm strength standing against Martell's unraveling, with the world watching as his allies fade away and his credibility weakens. What started as a custody fight has become a full-blown spectacle. Co-parenting has turned into public theater, spread across social media. And in the end, Martell's downfall is not about the courts, not about Melody, and not even about Arian. It is about his inability to let go of control. A reminder that despite the noise, she is prioritizing what matters most, giving her children stability, peace, and joy. She does not argue online or pick fights. Instead, she shows her children that love looks like consistency, not chaos. Public opinion keeps shifting in her favor. People can clearly see who is focused and who is fighting dirty. They can tell who is creating peace and who is reacting out of anger. More importantly, they see which parent is truly present for the kids, not just physically, but emotionally and mentally. Martell believes that loud outbursts and dramatic gestures make his point. In reality, they only make him look less sincere about fatherhood. Each motion he files, every meltdown, every Instagram rant feels less like love for his children and more like a grudge against Melody. Courts do not care about hashtags or followers, they care about stability and presence. And Martell's recent behavior raises more doubts than answers. His downfall is not only about the cheating scandals, the courtroom fights, or the public arguments. It is about his refusal to change. He acts as if he is still the man who once had it all, blind to the fact that the picture-perfect life collapsed long ago. His obsession with controlling the story has left him stuck. By clinging to a false image, he blocks any chance at a fresh start. The sad truth is, Martell could have had a redemption arc. People love comeback stories. If he had accepted responsibility, co-parented with respect, and focused on fatherhood instead of revenge, the public might have rooted for him. Instead, he turned every chance to heal into a performance. He wants to be seen as the man who lost everything unfairly. But what people actually see is someone who destroyed his own family and now lashes out because the consequences hurt. And through all this, the real victims are the children. They never asked to be part of a televised breakup. They never asked for their parents' battles to become memes or for court documents to be dissected online. Yet this is the reality they are forced to live with. Martell's choices often undo the progress Melody works so hard to protect. Even off the reality TV stage, he acts as if proving a point matters more than parenting, forgetting that in this era, the cameras never stop recording. Take Knox, for example. Instead of showing a natural father-son bond, Martell presents him almost like proof of his devotion, using him as a symbol in the larger conflict. It feels less like fatherhood and more like damage control. That is unfair to Knox. Children are not props for a legal case. They are not evidence, and they should never be tools for earning public sympathy. Yet Martell treats his role as a father as part of his performance. Legal experts have pointed out that judges now pay close attention to social media, especially in heated custody battles. Martell might be gaining likes online, but in court, his credibility is falling apart. You cannot drag your children's mother through the mud on Instagram while shouting that you want peace. You cannot throw fits in front of a judge while demanding more custody. Words and rants fade. Actions are what count. Right now, his actions paint a picture of instability and ego-driven chaos. Melody is not perfect, but she is consistent. She shows up. She keeps the children as her priority and stays quiet when silence is the wiser choice. That steady approach has won her admiration. Support for her continues to grow because people see a mother choosing peace over revenge, even when she has every reason to retaliate. Meanwhile, Martell has exhausted nearly all his goodwill. The chances, the grace, and the patience others once gave him are gone. What remains is a man fighting to protect his pride, not his family. If he does not recognize that, he risks losing the respect of those who once trusted him, and, more importantly, he risks losing his children. The situation leaves Martell at a crossroads. One path leads to growth, healing, and the possibility of building an honest, stable relationship with his kids. The other path drags him deeper into bitterness, blame, and self-destruction. The real question is whether he will finally choose maturity or keep performing the role of a victim in the very story he created.